According to the U.S. Department of Commerce, the state of Georgia exported over $37 billion worth of goods in 2017. That translates to employing approximately 180,000 people in our state. In the past year, tariff wars and NAFTA revisions have made a lot of headlines and made many of us wonder, what, if any, effect will these have on our economy? With videos like this, and a series of blog articles, I'd like to demonstrate how to make sense of the most detailed and authoritative data source available for import and exports in our country. That's the U.S. Census Bureau's trade data. This first video and blog entry is dedicated to extracting data from the census. Subsequent articles and videos address migrating that content into SQL Server and analyzing it in Power BI. In just a minute, we're going to navigate a census-provided website called USA Trade. There we'll retrieve some Georgia export data. But before we do that, there are two topics about the nature of this data that deserve some explanation. The first concerns commodity classifications. The census classifies commodities in one of two ways. The North American Industrial Classification System, or NAICS, is, as its name implies, a hierarchical system used in North America. Think of it as the Dewey Decimal System for classifying goods and services. The second mechanism the census uses to classify commodities is known as the Harmonized system. By harmonized, they mean a classification system that is agreed to internationally. Because most tariff information is referenced using harmonized commodity codes, it's that harmonized system and that classification method that we'll be using for our data analysis. Both of these systems are hierarchical, meaning that the classification can start at a gross level of 2 digits and then become increasingly more specific about the commodity by going to 4 or 6 digits. For our extracts, we are going to go for the highest level of detail, those 6 digits. And then if needed, we can always aggregate up to 2 or 4 digits if needed. There's one other fundamental concept about this trade data. That concerns the U.S. geography classification. When we navigate the USA Trade site in a minute, the first question they'll ask concerns this geography, and it's one of 3 settings: port, district, or state. So a port would be the Port of Savannah. A district for Georgia would be the also named Savannah district, but that would include multiple ports, including Savannah and the Atlanta Hartsfield Airport. And then the third level of geography is state. And for us, we're interested in the state of Georgia. And that would be all goods originating from this state. So when viewed by the state, the census data is filtered by the origin or the destination and not simply by the port the product went through. For example, a product may be manufactured in Georgia, but leave our country by way of the Tallahassee, Florida port. So then if viewed by port or district, that product would seemingly go out of Tallahassee. If we pull data by the originating state, those products would be classified as originating from Georgia. So that's how we'll do our data extracts, by state, and specifically by the state of Georgia. All right, here's your entry point to the USA Trade website. It's a simple matter to create a user account and then to log in. When you do, you'll be greeted by this page. Now, remember talking about commodity classifications and geography? That'll help you make sense of some of this. HS, that's a reference to harmonized codes. Then you've got NAICS codes. Likewise, you'll see references to ports, districts, and states. That's your geography. And the options are further distinguished by import versus export. We're going to walk pretty quickly through the interface. My purpose is primarily to show you some shortcuts and give you a primer for using this tool. So we're interested in this level. We want the state of Georgia export data using harmonized, not NAICS codes. Harmonized option right here. When I click that, it will start this wizard type of interface for identifying the additional qualities of the data file. And for measures, I'm going to choose just the total value. This is the variable that will be exported. For state, I'll choose Georgia. Now we're looking at the harmonized commodity codes. And as I mentioned to you earlier, there's a hierarchy for these. As we expand it, you can see these 2-digit level there's approximately 99 different entries here. With 4 digits, you can get more specific. With 6 digits, you're getting very specific about the type of animals. So we're interested in getting the 6-digit, and I can do that quickly using this option here. It would be pretty tedious to have to click all those. Now, country, we'll use a similar approach, except there are these other hierarchies. Besides all of the individual countries listed under here, you've got these geographic regions by continent and also international organizations. If I were to choose this option, it would get me all the countries, but also these other continents and some other things. So let me expand this and I'll show you what we'll do. We're going to use the selection by range. Choose the first country. Scroll to the end. Choose the last country, and we'll choose all between. And you'll notice up here it says members 1 to 220 or 200. We need to get those remaining 64 countries on the second page using the same approach. Okay. If I wanted to, I could save that as a selection set, which would accelerate the next time I want to run this report. I could just identify those countries. The last part of the wizard is choosing the time period that you want to report. And we're going to expand 2018 and request just July 2018. Up at the top of the screen, we'll choose report. Finally, we choose download report data, this green button here. We're interested in pulling it into a database at some point, so we'll ask for a comma delimited ASCII. Sparse list simply means it's going to leave empty rows out of the worksheet. And then when we hit OK, you won't really get any confirmation here. You'll just see the dialog up at the top left indicating it's working. And 3 or 4 minutes later, it'll give you an option to save the file that it's created for you. I'm going to pause the video while that happens, and we'll take a look at the file when it's available. Yeah, about 4 or 5 minutes later, it'll actually come back with a file, and we can take a look. Mostly what you'd expect here. We've got detailed commodity level to 6 digits, reporting on the state of Georgia. These are the export destination countries, the date, and the total US dollar value. To recap, we've used the USA Trade website to generate 1 month of data from the site. It's a pretty intuitive process, and the site allows you to pull your data in many alternative ways. But now think with me a moment. What if you wanted to go beyond just 1 month of data? Perhaps you want all months of data going back to 2013. With some experimentation, you'll discover this site limits the size of the file exports. Based upon the level of detail you ask for, you may need to do individual exports for each month. Thankfully, there's an alternative approach using what's called the Census Api, which is the subject of the next blog and video.